I swear I live.
Okay, so this is the first of 3 movie reviews for the channel, and this first one is Coco. But before we talk about Coco, we have to talk about Olaf's Frozen Adventure. Don't ask me why I grabbed a microphone, but I did. So let's talk about Olaf's Frozen Adventure. It was released alongside Coco on November 22nd, and is airing on ABC on December 14th. Which, the day of this recording, which is December 11th, so that means it's coming out on Thursday, the 14th, but that's unimportant. It stars Josh Gad, Kristen Bell, Idina Menzel, Jonathan Groff, a bunch of other people that don't really matter. The only 4 that matter are Josh Gad, Kristen Bell, Idina Menzel, and Jonathan Groff. Now, let's go on to the plot. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to try and say them kind of like as fast as I can. And I'm going to say them with as much detail as I can without really spoiling the movie, but kind of spoiling it. So this is how it's going to be for a while. I hope you guys like this. This part is kind of like testing it, because I don't, you know me, I don't like having long videos. So let's go. Olaf's Frozen Adventure. So, and I wrote this down on my computer and like wrote the synopsis and all that stuff. So it's the first Christmas season since Anna and Elsa opened up their gates from Frozen 1. So it's kind of like a direct sequel to Frozen 1-ish, kind of. So they sing a song called Ring in the Season, and it's kind of good. Olaf is trying to surprise a bunch of people, then they sing Ring in the Season. And they are they basically get into the part of the song where they bring up the Yule Bell, which is something that they've been doing for like hundreds of years in their kingdom of Arendelle. So they bring it up, they ring the bell, and at the end of the song, Olaf turns around and says, "Surprise!" and everyone leaves to do their own individual holiday traditions. And Anna and Elsa realize, oh, we don't have a family because our family's dead. Thank you, Disney. And all we have is the snowman and ice dude, and a Kristoff and a Sven. And that's all we got. We don't have any traditions because we don't remember our family. And it's all Elsa's fault because of her hand and her magic powers. So Elsa sings a very sad song called, I think it's the Ring in the Season, the Ring in the Season reprise. By the way, I missed that Jonathan Groff has a solo song called The Ballad of Flemingrad. Very good song. If you haven't heard it, go on Spotify, check it out. Jonathan Groff is a national treasure, and he needs to be more used in the Frozen universe if they're going to use him. Please, please, please give him like 5 songs in Frozen 2, and I'll be okay. Moving on. Elsa makes a sad song, Ring in the Season reprise, blah, blah, blah. And it just talks about how whenever she isolated herself, her and Anna were not allowed to spend time with each other because of her frozen ice powers. So Olaf is like, oh, that's sad. Sven, let's go find some traditions. So they're going around town. Olaf encounters various traditions such as Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Winter Solstice, a bunch of other stuff that no one really knows. A bunch of the same stuff too. So a lot of Christmas, a lot of Solstice, a lot of Hanukkah, because of the area that they are in. Someone bakes a cookie in the shape of Norway. Kittens. That's where the Olaf and the kittens happen. And the last place he visits is Wandering Oaken from the first movie. So Oaken and Olaf are in the sauna with Oaken's entire family, which is kind of awkward. And Olaf melts, then refreezes whenever Oaken throws him outside. Oaken gives him a sauna to give to Anna and Elsa with coals inside of it, which he didn't know. And Olaf asks Oaken if he can have if he has an extra towel, and Oaken just takes off his and throws it on Olaf, which is very disgusting. Then we go on to the climax of the short. After the visit to Oaken, blah, 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 blah. Olaf and Sven have their sleigh full of traditions, and they're going through basically the same exact forest that they went through in the first movie. So they're going through, and a coal jumps out, lands on Olaf's hand, and he's like, oh crap, and he hits it. It bounces off a squirrel's face, and then bounces into the thing, and the sleigh catches on fire. And then a thing, like a wood cutter's axe, cuts something, and then the sleigh starts going backwards, and Sven is no longer in control, so it's just bad. So they slide down the hill, and Olaf and Sven are separated because of the cliffs. And with only a fruitcake, Olaf attempts to travel through the scary woods and gets attacked by wolves. Then, in that part, Olaf and Anna and Elsa discover some of the stuff that they had from their childhood in the attic, and we don't know this yet, but they know that their Christmas tradition was Olaf. Duh. I didn't even think of that through the entire thing. Whenever it was Olaf, I'm like, really? That's just PG. Sven runs back to Kristoff and attempts through different ways, because of course Sven can't really talk, that Olaf's in trouble. Kristoff doesn't understand what's going on, and Sven's acting it all out, and Anna's like, oh crap, Olaf's in trouble. So they gather all the residents of Arendelle. Olaf manages to escape the wolves, but loses the fruitcake to an eagle, which was very, very funny. Anna and Elsa find him in a very depressive, snow thing. And they cheer him up, revealing that they do have a tradition, which is him. After Elsa, the whole story is that after Elsa shut herself away, after the icy power started to happen, Anna visited her every year, and sliding cards and dolls of Olaf under the door. And the end of the feature has a song called When We're Together. It's not that good of a song. And they realize that it's all Olaf all the time, blah, 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 blah. They create this big ice tree, and then Olaf puts the star on top, and it's just a thing that happens, and it's just bleh. Bleh. I give it a 2, maybe. The reason why I give it a 2, and it's a 2 out of 5, is because Jonathan Groff's in it. I love Jonathan Groff. It's a decent storyline for children. Obviously, I'm not a child, but it was made for TV, and like I said before, it's gonna be on ABC, so I'm gonna watch it, and I'm probably gonna think, one, it's the same short, so I'm not gonna like it, but two, it's supposed to be on TV, so I think I'm gonna like it better on TV, because on the theater screen, it had the bars, and then I think now that it's gonna be on TV, it's not gonna have the bars. But anyway, moving on from that, let's talk about Coco. Alright, so, oh my goodness. Alright, Coco was released on November 22nd, 2017. Greatest idea ever from Pixar to make a movie about Hispanic heritage. Just saying. So the movie starts out with a story told by the main character Miguel about the history of his family. So I think the great grandmother, actually it would be more than great because it was great, I don't know. Anyway, the matriarch of the entire family, Imelda, which their last name is Rivera, so if I just say their names, then you know their last name is Rivera, who is the wife of a musician. We don't know who the musician's name is. Imelda's husband left Imelda and her daughter, Coco, which is the grandma in the movie, to pursue a career in music. And then once he left, she took all the instruments that were in the house, threw them out, and shunned music away from her life and her family's life, and turned to shoemaking so she can make a living for her daughter. And then her great-grandson, who is her great-great-grandson, okay, so great-great-grandmother is Imelda, cool. Her great-great-grandson, Miguel, who now lives with the entirety of the family, which is a lot of people. And Grandma Coco, who is very old, like wheelchair, starting to forget names, stuff like that. And because he can't do music in the house, he has like a secret attic where he secretly dreams of being a musician like his idol, Ernesto de la Cruz, who was a very popular musician in Imelda's generation. And one day, Miguel, with the help of his street dog Dante, destroys the frame of Imelda's photo on the ofrenda, which, if you guys don't know, the ofrenda is where they put all the photos for the Day of the Dead, and they put flowers or petals to go to where those people are buried so they can cross over and come to where the family is and hang out with the family again, but we don't see them, but they can see us and all that stuff. And Miguel actually ends up removing Imelda's photo and opens it and discovering her husband, whose face was ripped out, was holding Ernesto's famous guitar. He later thinks, we'll get to that in a second, thinks that his great-great-grandfather is Ernesto de la Cruz. Knowing that, he goes to his family. He's like, I want to enter in this contest for the Day of the Dead talent show. And his grandmother destroys the guitar that he built. It's kind of like a scrap guitar. Figuring out that he is Ernesto's great-great-grandson, Miguel enters his tomb and steals his guitar to use in the show. He strums it, and he becomes part of the land of the dead, which means he basically just crosses over with, because he's cursed, which we find out later. But the cool thing about animals, off topic kind of, but the cool thing about animals in this universe is that, not really a universe, but in this is that animals like Dante, his dog, can see the relatives that are passed away, but can also see the living people. So the entire time, Dante can see Miguel. Why am I blurry? Hello? Thank you. So Dante can see Miguel the entire time, which is good. And Miguel runs into his family, who is like, okay, why are you here? And they find out that Mama Imelda did not cross over. Meaning it's Miguel's fault because her photo is not on the ofrenda. So they go into the land of the dead. There's this big giant scene that they show all of the places where all the family members that are passed away live, and it's really just an amazing cinematic feat that I don't even know how they did it. They explained it in the beginning of the movie, and I don't even know. And then they go through and they kind of sneak something in there that you find out later on in the movie, that if your photo is not on an ofrenda, you cannot pass through the security checkpoint to go over the Rose Petal Bridge to get to your family. So they go through, they go into the office of family affairs or whatever, and they see Mama Imelda. She is going crazy because she's not on the ofrenda. Her family always puts her on the ofrenda, but it's actually Miguel's fault. And they send Miguel back, and Miguel's like, Well, they send Miguel back with conditions, which the condition is to put the photo back on the ofrenda, and then to never play music again, because Imelda still does not like music. So they send him back. Miguel's a little cheating child, and he grabs the guitar again and runs off and gets sent back to the land of the dead. And Imelda's like, 2 seconds. Like, he was gone for 2 seconds, and he didn't even follow the rules. So he gets mad, and he goes to try and get out Ernesto's blessing, which he has to go through a lot of stuff, which is basically the movie. He meets this guy named Hector, who later on we find out that he is a musician as well. He is kind of like a forgotten person who his family doesn't put his post thing on the ofrenda at all. He has no family, and the one family that we find out later, the one family that does remember him, is forgetting. Kind of get where I'm getting at on this. So Hector once played with Ernesto, and he offers Miguel's help to reach Ernesto, but in return, Hector asks Miguel to put his photo back on the ofrenda so he can go back to the land of the living and visit his daughter before she forgets, and he disappears completely. Hector then makes Miguel look like a skeleton, and then they do this cool, like, kind of like the Day of the Dead contest in Living World, but they do it in the land of the dead, and Miguel technically wins but has to leave because he's trying to be found and all that stuff. And we find out that Mama Imelda can still sing, which whenever she sang that song, oh my gosh, like, I had chills. Oh my gosh, like, the music in this movie is beautiful, and I'll talk about that after I talk about the plot. So after that, Miguel attempts to get into Dela Cruz's party. He doesn't get in, obviously, and he sees the band that actually won, and they sneak him into the party, thus meeting his idol and his great-great-grandfather, Ernesto de la Cruz. Plays for him. It's a whole big thing. It's really cool. And Ernesto brings him in and is like, so I'm going to send you back. And right before he's about to send him back, Hector walks in, dressed up as Frida Kahlo, which I think is hysterical that Frida Kahlo is represented in this movie. But he dresses up like Frida Kahlo to get in, and then we find out that Hector was the person who wrote all the music and had the guitar from Ernesto. So Ernesto sends Hector away, calls security and all that stuff, and at that point Miguel figures out that Hector is family, which I didn't even catch that. I was like, oh man, this is a good movie. So how that happened, everyone in the film, or in the universe, Land of the Dead, believe that Hector died by choking on chorizo, which is hysterical. And actually what happened was Ernesto poisoned him, and thus killing him, sending him to the Land of the Dead. And he was going to leave and come back to Imelda and Coco, but couldn't because he was dead. Phone went off. So then Miguel is like kind of weary with Ernesto, so Ernesto sends him to the same pit that he sends Hector, and they find out that they're related. Hector is his actual great-great-grandfather, and Coco is his daughter, with the help of Dante, who is now what they call an alebrije, which is kind of like a spirit guide. That's what they say in the movie. And Miguel explains Hector's death and how he wanted to come home to Imelda and Coco, and Imelda and Hector reconcile their differences to help out Miguel, and they completely like infiltrate Ernesto's sunrise concert to get Hector's photo, to send Miguel back, and to reveal Ernesto as a fraud, which they do, and the whole revealing Ernesto as a fraud, which Ernesto is crushed just like he was in his previous life by a bell, which was hysterical. I laughed hysterically at that. But Hector's photo falls into a pool of water and disintegrates. So as the sun is rising, Hector is in danger of being forgotten and disappearing because Coco is forgetting. At that point, I was crying because it was just too much. At that point, people were forgetting, people were dying. It was just too many emotions at once, man. It was just... Imelda blesses Miguel without any conditions so he can return to the land of living, where he plays the song that Hector wrote for Coco during Coco's childhood. The song sparks Coco's memory of Hector and revitalizes her, basically takes her out of the brain, basically like Alzheimer's that she had. And she gives Miguel the torn out piece of the photo to put on the ofrenda that shows Hector's face. Elena, which is the grandma, reconciles with Miguel, accepting both of them and music back into the family. And they flash forward to 1 year later. Miguel is proudly presenting the family ofrenda to the new baby sister, and then you find out that Coco passed away, which was very sad. I cried multiple times. And they are starting to showcase Hector as like a musician, and like everyone hates Ernesto, which is awesome, and public honors Hector in his place. Land of the Dead, Hector and Imelda join Coco for a visit to the living Riveras, and all the family's there, and it's great, and it's awesome, and it's wonderful, and I cried multiple times in this movie. I swear, if none of you have seen this movie, you need to go see this movie like now. It is such a good movie. The way that they did this movie was so good. There's nothing else you can say about this movie. It's literally one of the best Disney Pixar movies I've ever seen in my entire life. The movie was actually, some fun facts about the movie. The movie was pitched as an idea when Toy Story 3 was released back in 2010. So it basically took 7 years for this movie to happen. They didn't have but skeletons and Dia de los Muertos, and they went from there. It's crazy. There is 11 songs on the album. My favorite one is Poco Loco, probably. Yeah, there's just so much good music in this. Yeah. It's nominated for so many awards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's nominated for 11 Annie Awards. It got nominated for... it's already won awards. It won Boston Online Film Critics Association Best Animated Film. Won Best Score for Hollywood Music and Media Awards back in 2017. It's nominated for... I saw somewhere. It's nominated for Golden Globes. It's nominated for Best Animated Feature and Best Song. Remember Me. It'll win both. It better win both. Critics' Choice, it's nominated for Animated Feature and Best Song. It won National Board of Review Animated Film of the Year. It's winning all these awards. Everyone says it's similar to Book of Life. I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all. Because it's not. See, it's kind of like bull. It's kind of about bullfighting, and it's like not a good movie either. I don't think it was. Everyone thinks it's like the same movie, and it's not. It makes me mad. But oh well. Crap happens. It was nominated and it won one thing, and that's it. So Coco's better. We all know this. So that's the first movie review. I would give Coco 10 out of 10. It's a masterpiece. Probably out of all of these movies that I review this year, which is the 4, Coco will probably be my highest rated, because the 4 I'm doing is Coco, Star Wars, Justice League, Bad Moms. Don't know how Star Wars is going to be because I haven't seen it yet. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all of the links to my social media are down below, and I will see you guys next time.
Don't stop.